All right, get ready, because today we're going to tackle something pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And honestly, a pretty tricky part of learning Mandarin.
Right.
How it handles tense and aspect.
Mm-hmm.
I know personally from my own pronunciator sessions that wrapping my head around verbs in Mandarin can sometimes feel like,
Yeah.
you're trying to solve a puzzle,
Right.
but the puzzle is in a different dimension.
Yeah. You're definitely not alone there.
Okay.
It's a really common issue for English speakers.
Yeah.
Because the way Mandarin approaches time
Right.
is just fundamentally different. It's not like adding an ed, for past tense or anything.
Right.
Instead, it's all about these little aspect markers.
Okay.
Think of them as clues that reveal the state of an action.
Okay, so instead of like focusing on when something happened, like past, present, future,
Exactly.
Mandarin is more interested in the vibe of the action itself.
The vibe. Yeah,
exactly.
It's like the difference between taking a snapshot and painting a picture.
Uh-huh.
English verbs are snapshots, they capture a moment in time.
Okay.
But Mandarin verbs, those are more like these ongoing brush strokes.
Okay.
And the aspect markers, they're like the colors that give us all the context and the depth.
So it's less about like pinpointing the exact moment on a timeline, and it's more about understanding the action's journey.
Yes.
Whether it's finished or ongoing.
That's it.
Or has happened before.
You got it.
Okay.
And as you continue with Pronunciator, you'll start to notice these nuances coming to life.
Yeah.
For example, let's say you're working on a lesson about ordering food.
Right.
In English, you might say, I ate dumplings.
Yeah, I ate dumplings.
But in Mandarin, you'd use the aspect marker hao le to indicate completion by saying 温吃了鸡苗子, which literally translates to I eat finished dumplings.
Wow. Okay, so lei acts like a little flag signaling. Hey, this action is like done and dusted.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
And here's where it gets even more interesting.
Okay.
Lei can also indicate a change of state, not just a completed action.
Okay.
So imagine you're listening to a pronunciator dialogue about the weather.
All right.
And you hear the sentence, 谁下了, which is it started raining.
Right.
The lei isn't pointing to a specific time in the past.
Okay.
It's highlighting that shift from not raining to raining.
Hold on.
Yeah.
So lei can be about completion, but it can also be about this this transition, this
like that status update.
Moment of change.
Things are different now.
Okay, it's blowing my mind a little bit.
And it's these subtle distinctions that make mastering these aspect markers so crucial for fluency. Okay.
You start to think less about translating word for word and more about capturing the essence of what's being conveyed.
Yeah, this is making me want to go back and re-listen to some of my pronunciator dialogues with like fresh ears.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so lei is our completion and change of state marker.
Yes.
What other aspect marker secrets await us?
Let's talk about
Okay.
The experience marker.
That's right.
This one's all about whether you've done something at least once in your life.
Okay.
No specific time is needed.
All right.
Just that experience stamp. It's perfect for those pronunciator lessons.
Right.
Where you talk about your hobbies or travel experiences.
So if I was like practicing my Mandarin with the pronunciator chatbot and I wanted to tell it about my trip to Beijing, I would use Zhui.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You could say, Beijing.
Okay.
I have been to Beijing.
The focus isn't on when you went, but simply on the fact that you've experienced it.
So it's like earning a badge in pronunciator.
Yes.
For completing a lesson. But this badge is for real life experiences.
I love that analogy.
Okay.
And can be used for so much more than just travel.
Okay.
Think about those pronunciator lessons on hobbies.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried calligraphy?
Actually, yeah.
Oh, cool.
That's one of the pronunciator cultural activities.
Oh, awesome.
I've been exploring.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So you could say, Higwe Wijigo Shiva.
Okay.
I have done calligraphy.
Right.
You see how it emphasizes the experience itself?
Yeah, okay, this is starting to click.
Good.
So we've got lei for completed actions and changes of state, and gua for experiences.
Yes.
What other aspect marker magic are we about to uncover?
Hold on tight because we're about to step into the present moment with say.
Right.
The marker for actions happening right now.
Okay.
Think of it as Mandarin's equivalent of adding ing to a verb.
Gotcha.
Imagine you're practicing a pronunciator dialogue about daily routines.
Like if I wanted to say, I am studying Mandarin.
Exactly.
While I'm using pronunciator.
Yes.
Okay.
You'd say, 现在在学习汉语.
Okay.
That zai puts a spotlight on the action as it unfolds.
I'm starting to see how these aspect markers are like puzzle pieces.
Yeah.
Each with its own unique shape and function.
Exactly.
And then when you combine them, they create a clear picture of the action story.
That's a fantastic way to visualize it.
Okay.
Now for our final aspect marker adventure today.
All right.
We have Z.
Okay.
This one's all about ongoing states or actions happening in the background.
Background actions.
Yes.
So not the main event.
Right.
But something happening simultaneously.
You got it.
Yep.
It's like when you're listening to a pronunciator dialogue and there's background music playing. Okay.
The music isn't the focus.
Right.
But it kind of adds to the atmosphere.
Right. Okay. So give me like a concrete example.
Okay. Picture this.
Okay.
You're watching a pronunciator video.
Right.
And the instructor is explaining a grammar point while smiling.
Okay.
You could describe this as ishi ishinji.
Okay.
The teacher is explaining grammar while smiling.
Right.
The Z highlights that the smiling is continuous as they talk.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like Z is adding an extra layer of detail.
Exactly.
Okay.
So let's do a quick recap.
All right.
We have lei for completed actions and changes of state.
Okay.
Guo for experiences.
Right.
Zazai for actions happening right now. And Z for those continuous background actions.
So it's like we've unlocked
Yes.
a secret decoder ring for understanding how Mandarin paints a picture of time and action.
Exactly.
But before we get too comfortable,
I have a feeling there's more to this story, right?
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
These aspect markers are just one part of the equation.
Okay.
Remember those pronunciator lessons on time expressions?
Yes.
Words like yesterday, tomorrow, last week. Well, they play a crucial role in pinning down the when in Mandarin.
I'm ready for the next level.
All right.
Bring on the time expressions.
Okay, so you're right. Time expressions are like the scaffolding that supports the whole structure of tense and aspect in Mandarin.
Right.
Think of it this way.
Okay.
Aspect markers.
Yeah.
They give you like the general idea,
right,
the vibe of the action, while time expressions provide the specific coordinates on your timeline.
So aspect markers set the stage.
Yes.
And time expressions pinpoint the location.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
It's like those interactive maps in Pronunciator.
Right.
Where you can zoom in and out. To get different levels of detail.
Yeah, okay, I like that.
And just like Pronunciator starts you off with basic vocabulary.
Right.
We'll begin with some familiar time expressions you've likely encountered already. Heute, osin for today.
Okay.
Zuchen for yesterday.
Right.
And mingtian for tomorrow.
Those are straightforward enough.
Yeah.
They seem to function just like their English counterparts.
They do.
Yeah.
But here's where the magic happens.
Okay.
Remember those aspect markers we just discussed?
Yes.
Well, they team up with these time expressions to create those specific tenses we're used to in English.
Ooh, okay, I'm ready for some examples.
Right.
Show me how this linguistic tag team works.
Okay, let's revisit our movie night scenario.
Right.
Remember the sentence, Es zuotian kukan dianingla. Yesterday I watched a movie.
Okay.
We have S scene setting the scene clearly in the past.
Right.
And confirming that the movie watching is complete.
So it's like a double confirmation, like a timestamp.
Yes.
And a completion stamp all in one sentence.
Exactly.
I bet this kind of construction comes up all the time.
All the time.
In those pronunciator dialogues.
You're catching on quickly.
All right.
And the more you practice, the more you'll notice these patterns.
Right.
Pronunciators' repetition and spaced repetition algorithms really help solidify these concepts.
Okay, it's reassuring to know that those seemingly endless drills are actually training my brain.
They are.
To instinctively use.
That's right.
Time expressions and aspect markers together.
Exactly. Now let's push a little further.
Okay.
Time expressions aren't limited to just yesterday or tomorrow.
Right.
Think about those pronunciator lessons where you learn to describe sequences of events.
Right.
You need words like before, after, during, and so on.
That's true. And those concepts can get a little tricky to express in another language. How does Mandarin handle those like more complex time relationships?
Well, that's where the real fun begins.
Okay.
Mandarin has a whole arsenal of adverbs and prepositional phrases that, when combined with aspect markers, create these intricate time dances.
Okay. I'm ready to learn some new moves. Give me some examples.
Let's say you're working on a pronunciator lesson about your daily routine.
All right.
And you want to say, I study Mandarin before I eat dinner.
Okay.
In Mandarin, you might say, sha'o, sha, ha'e, shifan, inkan, sui kianing.
Okay.
Here, sha, inkan means before.
Right.
And it's working with the verbs and any relevant aspect markers to establish that order of events.
So even though there's no tense change in the verbs themselves, the time expression "o" clarifies that the studying happens before the eating.
Okay.
And you can do this with other time connectors.
Right.
Like "e" for after, "deshihu" for during, and many more. As you progress through Pronunciator, you'll encounter a whole treasure trove of these time expressions.
It's like leveling up.
Yes.
In a language learning game.
It is.
Each new time expression adds another tool to my belt.
Exactly.
Allowing me to express myself with more precision and nuance.
That's a great way to think about it.
Okay.
Now, to really cement these concepts, let's take a step back and compare how Mandarin and English tackle some common tenses.
All right.
It'll help you bridge the gap between the two systems.
Sounds good.
All right, let's start with the simple past tense.
Okay.
In English, we add "ed" or use irregular forms.
Right.
Think, I walked or I ate. But in Mandarin, the verb stays the same.
Right.
Instead, we rely on the aspect marker.
And optionally, a time expression for context.
So instead of I ate, it would be yatica.
Right.
Possibly with an added if I wanted to specify yesterday.
Now think about those pronunciator lessons on continuous actions.
Okay.
Those things happening right now.
Right.
In English, it's all about that ing ending.
Right, like I am eating.
Yes, but in Mandarin, we'd use "ayan" before the verb.
Right.
So I am eating becomes "akian."
Okay.
See how it's all about context? And those supporting players.
Right.
The aspect markers. And time expressions.
It's like those time expressions are setting the stage.
Yes.
And the aspect markers are the actors.
Exactly.
Bringing the action to life.
That's a fantastic way to visualize it.
Okay.
Now let's tackle the future.
Okay.
In English, we use will or going to to express future intentions.
Right. But in Mandarin, we often use a future time expression like or directly with the verb. So I will eat tomorrow. Comes Joyce.
You nailed it.
Okay.
No need to change the verb itself.
Right.
Just bring in that time expression to set the scene in the future.
This is making me realize how much we take for granted in English.
I know, right?
We rely so heavily.
We do.
On verb conjugations. While Mandarin has this elegant system.
It does.
Of markers and expressions working in harmony.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah. It is.
And as you continue your Mandarin journey with Pronunciator, you'll discover even more intricate ways that aspect and time intertwine.
I'm both excited and slightly terrified. I'm definitely ready to dive deeper. Any final words of wisdom for our fellow language explorers? Before we wrap up this part of our deep dive.
Remember that even though it's different from what you're used to in English, it's not impossible. With practice and by paying attention to those subtle cues, you'll be expressing yourself in different tenses, like a pro in no time.
Right.
And Pronunciator is the perfect tool to guide you along the way.
I'm feeling so much more confident already.
Good.
Now, I'm curious. Is there anything specific about the way Mandarin handles time that might influence how we think about time in general? Yeah, that's a really interesting question. It makes me wonder if by learning Mandarin, we might actually start to perceive time differently.
Right.
It's like we're stepping outside our usual frame of reference and seeing the world through a new lens.
That's a brilliant observation.
Okay.
And it's actually something linguists have been exploring for years.
Okay.
There's a theory called linguistic relativity, which suggests that the language we speak can actually influence how we think.
So maybe by focusing on aspect rather than tense?
Right.
Mandarin speakers develop a different awareness.
Exactly.
Of how actions unfold over time.
Instead of being fixated on past, present, and future, the emphasis on completion, ongoing states, or past experiences could potentially shape how events are perceived and remembered.
It's almost like Mandarin encourages a more holistic view of time.
He does.
Where the focus is on the journey of an action.
Exactly.
Rather than simply pinpointing it on a timeline.
Precisely.
Okay.
Think about those pronunciator lessons where you learn to tell stories. In English, we tend to structure narratives in a very linear way with a clear beginning, middle, and end.
Right.
But in Mandarin, the use of aspect markers could lead to a more fluid storytelling style where the focus shifts seamlessly between different phases of an event.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Like the language itself is inviting us to think about time in a more dynamic and multifaceted way.
And as we become more fluent, maybe we'll even start to internalize some of these thought patterns.
This deep dive has been a truly mind-bending experience.
I know.
I feel like I've not only gained a deeper understanding of Mandarin tense and aspect, but also a new appreciation for how language can shape our thoughts.
And the best part is this is just the beginning.
Okay.
As you continue your Mandarin journey with Pronunciator, you'll keep uncovering new layers of meaning and nuance.
Okay.
Each lesson, each dialogue, each interaction will deepen your understanding of this incredible language.
I'm so excited to keep exploring.
Awesome.
Any final words of wisdom?
Embrace the challenge.
Okay.
Be patient with yourself.
Right.
And remember to have fun.
Yeah.
Learning a language is a journey of discovery, and each step you take brings you closer to fluency and a deeper understanding of another culture.
On that note, we encourage you to keep diving deep
Yes.
into the wonders of Mandarin Chinese.
Absolutely.
And remember, Pronunciator is your trusted companion
It is.
every step of the way.
Absolutely.
Until next time, happy learning.